Yo, what's up? This is Splendid Radio on Far Side TV with a very special guest, Mr. Derek J. Norman. How you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me, Greg. Appreciate it.
Nice. Um, Man, I've heard incredible things about you. I've heard incredible things about you, and the enthusiasm behind your knowledge and skill set had me on my A game. And we're gonna get your situation straight on my end for what I can do. But no, man, it's been a pleasure to hear about you and also for you to kind of come into the Farside TV family of sorts. So to start off, what city are you from?
Pasadena, baby.
I'm
The littlest big city in the country.
gonna tell you something, man. So I come from Harbor City, which
Okay.
is South Bay. The group war comes from Harbor City, where we're
Yeah.
close to the port, um, between Carson and San Pedro. And Harbor City is one of those cities where there's a lot of love from people who are very proud to come from Harbor City.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's interesting to me because people that come from LA or Inglewood or South Central and like all these places, there's a sense of pride, but Pasadena is like the other city that I see people come from.
Like
And they
Dina. Yeah. People want to represent. People want to represent. And I tell you what, man, it's because it's such a unique place to live and to have grown up. It's no wonder to me as we travel throughout, even outside the country. There's Americans everywhere to find people who are connected to this city, and I think a largely in part has to do, obviously, through some of the iconic experiences and events that go on here, like the Rose Bowl, Rose Parade, right? That kind of helps glue Pasadena to the United States fabric, right, if you will. Right, that annual event over 100 years, the Rose Bowl itself over 100 years old. So anyway, I think there's a lot of pride into that.
and then also, my dad, he was an Allstate insurance agent for well, shoot, he's still kind of working, kind of, you know,
These days.
he was not allowed in 1975 when he started working for Allstate. He
Yeah.
wasn't allowed, like, Irvine had their quota, West Covina had their quota, because at that time there was quotas for black people
Exactly.
to bring things kind of relevant to where we are today, and how they're kind of trying to politically roll
Right.
the structure of how black people can move and shake. They're trying to roll it back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in order for my father to work for Allstate, he had to drive from Harbor City to the Pasadena store, the Sears
Yeah.
store.
Yeah.
And so he did that for like years. And I would go with him on Saturdays. And one of the things that he showed me was Altadena. And later in life, I got to learn of the rich Black culture that
Mm-hmm.
came from Altadena. And
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the places where Black people were able to come and kind of, and people were able to do their thing in Pasadena too,
Yeah.
but they were able to flap their wings just a little more.
At Altadena, for sure.
Yeah.
100%. And, unfortunately, everything happened what happened last year with the fires, and my best friend lost his place, and several good friends that I went to high school with, man. So it's such a tragedy to see that. And, just going back to that quota situation and some of the other political nuances that occur when these types of situations interrupt the living of, a culture of people. We're fighting still to kind of reinstall that, but it's going to be a very different look moving forward, man.
Oh man, for sure. So my recollection of the Altadena fires was, I think Brown called me at about 8 o'clock, and he
Mm-hmm.
said, it looks like there's kind of going to be some fires, and they're telling us that we need to move for just like a couple of hours or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And then I can't remember. It's such a blur because he was so distraught when I talk. So from that conversation of him saying, "Okay, it's going to be a couple of hours,"
Yeah.
to him calling me, and I want to say it might have been on a Tuesday. I can't remember exactly, but I remember that I was doing something, and he told me, and then after I finished doing what I was doing, I can't remember if he called me in the morning or if it was hours later. But he was like, "It's gone."
It was so fast. It happened so fast, Greg. It was unbelievable. I was driving from Santa Monica talking to my buddy Justin, and on the freeway, I had a Sprinter van at the time, big
Mm-hmm.
Mercedes Sprinter van, 177 feet, and that thing was going back and forth. There were trees on the freeway. I said, "Is it this bad?" So I called home. She said, "Yeah, you need to get here now." He said, "Man, can you help us with the van?" Drove up. This was at 7:15.
Man.
So just before your call with Dad, drive up. People are, you see people coming out of the neighborhood, coming out of the houses, loading up the cars, whatever, getting whatever they can on Altadena Drive. You could see, I mean, it was almost like we were in the fire. It was back there. It was so close, right? Smoke everywhere. And then, so anyway, long story bearable, we got what we could. He packed up what he could in his van. We got out of there. By 9 o'clock, it was all gone. That entire, from Lake Avenue going, and forgive me for my recollection, Lake Avenue pretty much over to Lincoln, north of Altadena, sporadically. I mean, at that time, we thought it was all gone. Now you can see what survived, what didn't survive, right? But the majority of that area spanning downward to, Altadena Drive, it was gone, man. It was unbelievable. And then to drive back in the morning to say, all right, let's go see what we can do, while it was still burning, to find what we drove through was, I can't, it's unimaginable. I've got it all on video. It's unimaginable.
I'll tell you, we'll move into the podcast,
Yeah.
but I'll tell you this one part. No, it's not you, it's me, because I definitely went into that. But it was interesting to me how our current political leadership, when he got on, he was like, "Oh man, in 2 weeks it'll be all good, man. They're resilient. They'll be able to go in there." And
he loves 2 weeks, doesn't he? Everything's 2 weeks. War's gonna be over in 2 weeks. We've been hearing that for 2 months now.
Yeah, no, it's not that. And me, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but one thing that I do understand is the environmental impact of different things that can happen. And I just knew, and once again, with my father being in the insurance industry, and me, the last paycheck I got was like 95 work, when I left the insurance industry working for my father. And I understood that, like, once you have devastation like that, they got like, there's chemical, like there's so much more to it than just
absolutely
some planning and slapping some structures together and all of that. But with that being said, did you ever think that hip hop was going to be as large as it is?
I mean, part of me, yes. The other part, not. There's never a no. There would never be a no, because I loved hip hop so much all my life, right? I mean, that's the thread and the interweaving of us, I think, as people. I think, from funk to jazz to hip hop, that's just who we are. Like my mom and them listening to Sugar Hill Gang when I was a kid, man. A hip, a hop, a hit, a hit. I mean, all that stuff was there. So I mean, to say that I didn't expect it to be this great. I know that I expected it to be around. I didn't think I would ever live a life without it, which I haven't. I'm 51 years old. But to see it at this level and what the stars are doing, that's where I say, I wasn't sure that it could be this great, because, what they've done for music in its entirety is pretty phenomenal.
So I'm a little older than you, just a little,
okay,
about a couple years.
I mean, hey, you wouldn't know, it's either going to gray or it's going to go away. So,
So my buddy came by the office today. Brown happened to be there, and my buddy's a barber.
Yeah,
and he blew my mind. I said, he owns a barber shop, so he rents out booths and everything like that.
Yep.
And so I asked him some things about some hair care stuff. And now I've been convertible since 30, so I don't know anything about whatever. And he told me a bald head is $50 and a haircut is 60. And I was like, oh, so that's how you live cool, the way that you live cool. If
a $10 differential from nothing to have a little something. That's I would think a bald head would be a lot less than that, but now that's news to me.
He said he got one guy that comes in twice a week. I was like, I'm in the wrong business, man. But it's interesting because I didn't think that hip hop would be what it is, but I knew culturally that when I was in junior high school and Breaking was out at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and you had Beat Street, and I
Beat Street.
knew the special thing about hip hop was that um, kids that were different than Black, um, Asian, Hispanic, um, introverts, it leveled the playing field because you have these cats that could like windmill and that could pop and like cats that really didn't have a voice. Like they
Yeah.
never like I came from a neighborhood where a bunch of my buddies just got together about 2 months ago
Mm-hmm.
at a BJ's, and it was like the class of like 84 to the class of 92, and
Mm-hmm.
like 30 of us got together. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I come from a group of guys where it was like older guys to there's some younger guys that came after us.
Yeah.
And the thing about breakdancing is you had these introverts that it gave them a voice. Like
Yeah.
hip hop, like I personally can say that I witnessed hip hop give introverts a voice. Now, when it became an economic factor, my first recollection where I could understand it, I guess Run DMC was probably one of the first with their branding and whatnot with Adidas, but me not thinking of Run DMC and Adidas when I knew that hip hop was something was when the rumor was Busta Rhymes had gotten like $1 million deal with Sprite. And this is when a million was like a real million, not like right now where a
Right.
million is
An
like
inflated million. Yeah.
200, 300,000,
Right.
$400,000. This was like a big deal. And they had allowed him to direct his own Sprite commercial.
With Janet, right? With the what's it gonna be video was that or before that?
No, this was before.
Okay.
They had him, they were using special effects, and I'm sure
Yep,
it was
I
some
remember.
very low level of CGI involved, but it was Busta and his hype man Spliff Star. And I remember they were hanging off of a 18-wheel truck and kind of like flapping all around. And it was definitely CGI or something. They were not hanging off of anything and flapping around anywhere. But when I saw that a company like a soda company had that kind of money, like I understood hip hop was going to be something moving
Mm-hmm.
forward. Um, After 9/11, I managed the Far Side for several years,
Okay.
and after 9/11, I remember going to Las Vegas and it being a ghost town. Like this was like right after 9/11, like it being a ghost town, and then I saw how the radio industry had dried up because companies weren't spending money on the advertisement, which drove the radio industry. And I remember shows for the Far Side had like really shriveled up, and it was amazing because uh, two things brought hip hop back to life. And it's interesting that no one talks about this on podcasts and documentaries and stuff like that. But the two companies that I could say breathe life into the Far Side's well-being at the time was Scion, which Scion had did like a partnership with Herb Magazine, and they were pumping a lot of money into the urban market to get people interested in these little square cars. And then after that was Red Bull.
Uh-huh.
Red Bull pumped a lot of money before they got into like all the X gaming stuff and all
Yeah.
that. What they
Yeah.
would do is they would go to venues, they buy the venue out. Well, first of all, they would, and this is like, man, there needs to be documentaries or something on this place and space and times because the Red Bulls and the Scions, they would hire whoever was the tastemaker or the cool guy in different cities. And then that person would go to like a venue that might be like 500 to 700 people. They buy the venue out, they get a hip hop group to come and perform, and then they'd invite like all the tastemakers and whatnot. Some
Mm-hmm.
of them they wouldn't even charge for, but they
Mm-hmm.
did that as really like a ground level guerrilla marketing
Mm-hmm.
to kind of put the energy drinks in people's hands and whatnot. And it was amazing to me. And I remember thinking like, man, we're really doing shows that they aren't charging money for. And they were paying good. Like they were
Yeah.
paying really good.
Yeah.
And it kind of created something in me that started me on this journey of where I would have this conversation with different promoters, and I wouldn't do it in a disrespectful or a really prodding way, but I like to know where did the money come from for us to do shows when they weren't necessarily selling tickets and stuff like that, because they were paying like real cool money, and I was trying to figure it out. And what it was marketing, and it paid off because at one point the Scion was the affordable urban car. Like that was those little boxes.
I
Like that
remember.
was
I remember.
like that was the
I didn't
thing.
like them, but I remember them because of
Oh
how funny looking they were, right? And that was intentional.
yeah, but you know what? They followed the same model as Hyundai. Like I remember when I was in high school when the
Honda.
funny Hyundai when the fun spoken like
I
a
was just saying,
marketing
I remember. Yeah, I
a
remember.
marketing guru
Yeah.
spoken like a marketing guru. Like when they came out, you could get one with the next to nothing down payment, and I think the monthly payments were like 300 or 400, but it was something very affordable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then after Red Bull, vitamin water came into the game, and when vitamin water came into the game, I remember vitamin water doing the same thing, paying us almost anything I asked for. Like they would do these marketing events, and I remember they would send pallets of vitamin water to my house, like
Wow.
literal. I had a because where I live, it's it is residential, but across the street from me is industrial. And
Industrial.
so my neighbor, literally across the street, they would have a truck come and they would drop off a pallet of vitamin water,
Wow.
like literally a pallet. So
Yeah.
I say that to say I was able to see hip hop really do that. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying?
You had that inside track, especially managing such a prominent group like Farside back in the days. I mean, I that to be able to get that inside track from a managerial standpoint like yourself, to see how, see kind of the pitching, if you will, of an industry and a culture is really unique. I mean, not a lot of us have that opportunity, Greg.
Yeah, it was amazing. What
Or
was
or do people have the wherewithal to understand that, like you're sharing with me? Maybe you're the one who does that documentary you're talking about.
well, maybe I'm talking to the right person.
Hey, I'm just saying, man.
Maybe I'm talking to the right
Stuff
person.
going here.
Maybe I'm talking to the right person. What was the first hip hop song that ever spoke to you?
Gosh, it's got to be L. I mean, I thought I was LL. Girls would say that I looked like him back in the day. So I think I'm bad was. I mean, that's one that I constantly did. I know I did a talent show. What was it? Wilson Middle School. And I was LL doing the I'm Bad. I mean, I thought I was, the baddest rapper. I thought I was the guy. I wore my Kango. I had the whole setup, man. Licked my lips a million times a day. I wanted to be LL Cool J. So his whole album, what was that album with I'm Bad on there?
Walking.
You probably know better than I do.
No.
Yeah. But LL was the guy, I love Tip, loved Q-Tip, and loved De La Soul. I mean, Farside was on there. I mean, I loved, but I think LL was the one who spoke to me when I was coming up, man.
Okay.
He was my rap, he was my hip hop inspiration, man. I mean, not just his music, but he was the ladies' love, legend in leather. I thought I was that guy back then. I thought I was smooth. I was trying to emulate LL Cool J back in the day. So he was my guy. He spoke to me. His music was the one that woke me up to hip hop. And then from there, I mean, obviously Run DMC, all the powerhouses that we came up with. But L was my guy.
No, that's fair. That's fair enough for sure.
Yeah.
So I have a little ritual that I do every weekend.
Yeah.
And I listen to an album in its entirety. And my reasoning is that I feel like listening to an album is almost like writing in cursive. It's something that people don't do. At one point, it meant a lot. It was kind of sophisticated. I can remember going to Tower Record and reading liner notes, and really my purpose of reading liner notes wasn't necessarily to see the writing credits and all that. I wanted to see who got the thanks.
Like who got shot out, right?
Yeah, and not even like at the time I wasn't involved in hip hop or anything like that, but it was always just interesting to me who was close to a group and what groups were close to a group, and then I would kind of do my research into it, or my deeper dive based on
right,
that.
right.
But I'll say from a marketing standpoint, the best album rollout that I probably paid attention to in the last 10 years was the Clips album. And the way that, I mean, I even bought double vinyl. Like I haven't bought vinyl in,
those boys are hard, man. Hard, man.
And same subject matter every album. And it's interesting. I saw when they were kind of teasing the album coming out and they had just rolled out a single. I like to read comments. I guess that's my thing. Like the story is great, but I like the commentary. Even before social media became cool or just whatever, right. The commentary was always just as cool. And I remember reading a comment where somebody said, man, the Clips, how are they going to just have the same rap style and same subject matter for 30 years? Do you think I'd really buy an album for some cats that have the same subject matter and, and style for 30 years? And then the person answered their own question. You're absolutely right.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah. He said, you're absolutely right. And I've heard the album and they did it masterfully. And I was like, okay.
Very talented group and individuals. I mean, I remember watching them recently perform with Pharrell when he came out on, I think it was was it the BET Awards that they performed?
It was one of the award shows, but I remember.
American Music, whatever. And I was just like, these boys are still doing it the same, but it's just powerful. And there's something to that. There's something nostalgic about a group kind of staying in their lane, staying true to who they are in terms of their identity and their music and their fan base. Because nowadays, Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like everybody's trying to cater to whatever the next trending thing is versus just sticking true to who you are as an artist. Right? I mean, everybody's kind of going, which way's the wind blowing now? Okay, let me go that way, right? Where you got guys like Clips and them who stay true to who they are. And there's something to be spoken about that.
So I've said this story a million times on the podcast, but I'm going to say it again because so my family's from Mississippi. We tell stories and smoke meat. That's what we do.
Yeah.
So I have a buddy who's a DJ, and Brown is kind of, I say Brown was one of the people that kind of helped me get into contemporary music to a point, and he had turned me on to I remember when he turned me on to ASAP Rocky, and I was like, dang, this dude is like his first album. I was like, man, this dude is tight. So that was years ago. Fast forward to maybe about like 3 or 4 years ago, Brown had a pop-up shop at his store when it was on Eagle Rock Boulevard, and I had one of my friends come and DJ, and he's like on a famous podcast. He's been on different radio stations in LA. I think he might even DJ on Sirius. But I said to him, and he's around my age, if not a couple years older, maybe a couple years younger, but we're really close. So I said, how do you listen? I know you have to play it, but like, how do you listen to the contemporary music, like the music that's going on right now? Mm-hmm. He said, well, you're probably listening to it wrong. And I was like, what do you mean listening to it wrong? He says, well, you're probably listening for a dope beat, dope lyric, style, blah, 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 individuality, da, 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 da. He said, well, the way that they're mass producing music right now, you're only going to get one of those if you're lucky. And so if you're listening to get all those things that we used to get, you're probably going to get one, two if you're really lucky. And so when I started listening to the contemporary music like that, then I was able to enjoy it more because I didn't weigh it against uh 88, 89, 82, 83, eighty
Mm-hmm.
four.
Mm-hmm.
I really gave it its own class. And
Mm-hmm.
so you're weighing it against the different artists that are out like right now in a contemporary way.
Right.
But um the last album that I listened to that was dope, that stood its own, um probably I listened to it about 4 months ago, and I went back and I listened to Queen Latifah's Wrath of My Madness. And it was so dope. And what it taught me was that, when a person does something well, it's very easy to get lost in the sauce. And
Mm-hmm.
so, because Queen
Mm-hmm.
Latifah is such a talented act, she's become a talented thespian. Um, we forget that as well as she acts, there was something else that she did.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
same as Will Smith. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yep.
Will Smith
Yep.
becoming this great actor that he's become. I mean, people will go back and they'll say, okay, parents just don't understand, corny or whatever. But he also had a brand new funk. You know
That's
what I'm
right.
saying? And I remember like when I saw the video, and then he had Jazzy Jeff and all that. It wasn't always about pop and corny. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Like
Yeah.
these they did that, but they also did something else. So for you,
That's an interesting perspective because that's very true. People, once you become more commercialized, right? I mean, people tend to form their perceptions based on what they see the most and what they hear more or less. Because when they get into the mainstream, they get on the camera, right? We see this imagery of this person, even though it's hard, I think, maybe even for an artist to keep both John. I mean, some people like J Lo did it, but then obviously her acting kind of started to supersede her music making,
mm-hmm.
right? It's kind of same thing you're talking about, I guess, with Will and all those guys. But it's just an interesting perspective that I didn't think about until you just mentioned that right now.
Yeah, because I see people that do a lot of things, and like some people really do a lot of things good. Like
Yeah,
like not everybody, but there are some people that like whatever they do, and I think a lot of that has to do with passion. Like
you have to be passionate.
one of the things I was fortunate to be blessed with, my parents kind of gave me the freedom when I was younger. I was never good in school. Like that just wasn't my thing. But I was given the freedom to become passionate about things. I won't say anything in particular, but just
Right.
things. And so like I find myself now when I do something, like I'm gonna do it. It's not gonna be work to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not it's not gonna be work. It's gonna be something. If I'm interested in it, I'm gonna be passionate about it. And like, with kind of what I do now, I have to tell myself to come home. You know what I'm saying? Because I'll just I won't turn it off. And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you gotta turn it off and you gotta balance it because you'll
Right.
just, you just go over the top. When you were in junior high, what was your soundtrack?
Junior high soundtrack. Shoot, let me see, man. Let me see. I think I got right. I think I had one here. I was playing just a minute before we got here when I was cleaning up. I had who's on here? Blackstreet,
Okay.
Soul for Real. Um, well, that's high school. I think that was more high school. That was more high school. That was more like my 90s. I was in junior high in the 80s. I didn't really listen to much in the 80s, man. I was sports and playing guitar and piano, man. My mom didn't let us really jam like that until we got to high school. I started playing sports.
Okay.
When I got to Blair, my ninth grade year, you got to remember, it was a different dynamic for me and my brother in Pasadena, right? We grew up south of the 210 freeway, right? So we're down here on Del Mar and Marengo, right, where there was none of us down here. Okay, back then. So I was that hybrid brother where
Okay.
we went to the public schools, right? But I grew up down here with all the guys going to private school, right? And then the sports interaction and class interactions was what it was, which I was an actual athlete, scholar athlete. So I was focused on what I was focused on. You
Okay.
know what I'm saying? I wasn't hanging out. I was getting it done so I could move on to a better place, right? So the integration of music didn't really happen for me until like high school, believe it or not, when I started playing sports and all the homies was banging stuff, right? And so that's when it kind of popped for me. But junior high, I really didn't have a playlist in junior high.
You know what? But you know the one thing that I can say about the songs that you mentioned that might have
Yeah.
been in your high school,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna date myself and sound old as dust. You mentioned songs during a time when men and women dance with each other.
I definitely did that. You know, homecoming king. I was that guy. But you know, like I just kind of loved. You know, my relationship with music was interesting because my mom was a single mother. Okay, and so it was really a lot of. I worked at a hair salon. My uncle owned Standard Beauty Supply. We were on Los Robles in Colorado, right next to the hat store. Hat store's still been there. They've been there 42 years. The Lee's family. And I was that kid that had to get up at 4 in the morning, walked up to the studio, to the hair salon with my uncle. It was Standard Beauty at the time. He was a hairstylist, worked in the window on Colorado. It was his dream to be in the big window. So we would go there. We would unstock all of the products. I had to put all the product on the shelves. I had to mark, you know, all the pricing on there, and I had to do it right. It had to be orderly. Put all the hair weaving up, brushes, and all that for everybody to come in. And then I would go off to school, right? And then from there, you know, if I didn't have practice or something, I had to come back and finish up shop. I worked on Colorado from the First United Methodist Church all the way down to the Jewelry Mart. If you remember the Jewelry Mart, which was on the southeast corner of Los Robles in Colorado, and I had to break their boxes down because back in the late 80s, early 90s to mid 90s, the city of Pasadena would fine those companies for spillage, they called it. If you had extra trash or if you couldn't close the dumpster, you got a $35 ticket. And so nobody back then wanted to pay that ticket. So I went to those people and I said, I will help compact the trash. I would compact the trash, get it up, put it in there, and got my $35 every Friday from all 8 of those entities. I was the guy buying girls cookies at Mrs. Fields, and when you wanted something hot dog on a stick at the Pasadena Plaza, I had you because I had the bread in my pocket.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. So your senior year in high school,
Senior year in high school.
you're about to graduate. What did you think your path was going to be?
Well, it was already kind of, I mean, you know, it was kind of predetermined, right? I got a football scholarship offer. I got my first letter when I was 15. I think you couldn't receive it till you were 16 legally.
Mm-hmm.
When I was at Blair High School as a running back and linebacker. Played for Gene Zeller, played with like Jerome Blackwood, Onfield Blackwoods, and all those guys. And so I knew that I was going to go play college football. You know, I went to San Diego State, my alma mater, after I left Blair my sophomore year, went up to John Muir and played 90, 92, 91, 92, and 92, 93, graduated. So I kind of knew what I was going to be doing early on because I had those kind of mentors. And then the way that my family had shaped everything was, you know, look, you either work for the family, you go to the military, or you go off to college. You really had 3 options, right? And, you know, my older brother, who was 5 years older, rest in peace, you know, he was kind of, you know, knucklehead. You know, he was caught up in that in the early 80s and early 90s.
The life.
That life where, you know, people's gang banging and hanging out and all that. I certainly didn't want to go that route. I saw the trouble that brought, right? So I knew I was going to go play college football, study something. You know, I didn't know exactly what that would be. I mean, I went in as a business administration major and then finished in public administration. I wanted to kind of more like serve our people down the road, right? And so I kind of shifted that midway through as I began to understand what studies are and how they're applicable to society.
Okay. Nah, that's dope. That's dope. So you doing so many things. What do you do?
I am a consultant
Okay.
by life, I say. But technically, what I do is I sell product into all major retailers: Costco, Walmart, Bristol Farms, Albertsons, Pavilions, you name it. I mean, if you're at the grocery store tomorrow, you may walk by one of the products that I represent, or I've at least helped place in onto the shelves, rather it be ambient or in a refrigerator.
Okay.
And that kind of came about full circle, right? I mean, like I said, going back to my early childhood experience working for a family business, which was a hair salon. My mom baked cookies, cakes, and stuff like that in the kitchenette, which was not even legal. I would sell cakes, pies, cookies to my friends down here in South Pass. That's how, I kind of got in and kind of started making money. I knew I could do money with the urban, the Anglos living down here because I knew they had the paper.
Yeah.
I was giving it to the homies, but I was selling it to them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's how I tapped into that, right? And so I'm a consultant, right? I have a company. We've been since 2010. Originally, I was doing hair products in like Sally's. You ever heard of Sally's? They're like a beauty supply store. I think they're owned by Koreans. I knew the son, met him when he was at UCSD, which was a suburban university down in San Diego when I was at the public, state school. And he was like, man, we're going to start this whole company and it was hair products. And I said, look, I grew up in the hair salon. I had a pomade at the time. And my uncle had named it after my oldest son, Drew. And so it was called Drew's. And it was just like a lighter versus like that heavy wax that Dax
It
was.
wasn't the Murrays
It
and the
wasn't the
Dax.
Murrays. And we sold a ton of Murrays out of our store. But for me, it was just, it got hard. It would ruin your hair. My uncle said, don't use that stuff. And obviously, I listened. I didn't. We couldn't do Jerry curls. We came from the East Coast to here, so we were never a Jerry curl kind of family and messed up your collar and all that stuff. Although, hey, look, people love it.
Hey, hey.
I get it. I get it. But all you brothers are bald from the Jerry curls, man. Hey, chemicals will kill you. So that's kind of what I do. Like, I mean, people come to me to break it down in terms of step by step. If you had a product that it was a family recipe or any type of formulation, right? You need a broker to go into retail. I mean, it's much easier to use a broker versus to try to do it on your own. Nowadays, it's become more common for people to do it. But it's easier to go to somebody who has a standing relationship with someone who's going to go ahead and let you through the door, right? And so
The
that
plug.
my whole focus was always kind of being the plug, right? Having a greater relationship with the decision makers so that I can go. I don't want to spend a lot of time, like how do we circumvent this process? I mean, you got to go through somewhat of a process, but how can we circumvent that, right? How do we make it a shorter step? And how do we get past any barriers of entry that may be there? And so that takes a different perspective in an articulate position because you got to talk to those big guys, you got to present to them, and you have to have deliverables, right? And so I was always a guy that was going to show up and get the job done. You could always count on me. I was committed, and the commitment comes from what you spoke to earlier, Greg, which is passion. You have passion to help people, and you have passion to grow things and to share. Then you've got something special, right? Because everybody else can be, you can be me oriented, but my clients and my friends were always first. I knew people were more talented than me, by the way. That's how I got to that. Let me share your talent with somebody who's going to appreciate it greater than me. I love you. I can't do what you do. Let me put that up somewhere. And so that's kind of how I got that thing going early on. And it's just been great ever since.
You know, so I am an avid Costco shopper.
Costco's
Avid. Now, I'm gonna tell you a couple reasons why I love Costco. One, I've had things for about 8 years that I've returned with no questions asked.
no questions asked.
That's the one part. They realize that they can keep you by if you go to them and you return something, 9 times out of 10, you're just going to recycle that money right back into them
Absolutely.
and keep it pushing. That's
Absolutely.
that's the first part. Second part, I love that Costco, to your point, is a test market for so many good products.
Yep.
So many good products. I would say out of every 5 test market products that I try at Costco that are in the range of something that I would deal with anyway,
Right.
a good 3 to 4,
Return.
yeah, yeah,
Hit the
and
shelves, and then they're there for anywhere between 3 to 5 years, make a ton of money, and then Kirkland brand, their own brand, goes ahead and houses it.
pink, yeah, pink, and that's a fact, and that's a fact.
I mean, that's that. I mean, in our interviews, because I work with Navigate CPG, which is one of 8 brokers at Costco. Okay, in the interviews, everybody wants to go to Costco and make $20 million a year, and I get it, right? Because you can do that there, but they don't even allow you to come on board. They won't even give you a passport to come in and do a trial basis if you're reliant upon 60% of revenues through their corporation, because they just don't, they know you're going to bankrupt yourself. I can't tell you how many companies go bankrupt because they put all their eggs in that basket, or they try to. And this was before they actually started doing this regulation with people, which was about 8 years ago. Because I mean, they wanted, and they did it for the right reason, right? They had a heart to want to be able to bring everybody to the market and say, hey, look, here's your opportunity, right? Where their initial model was to try to limit the type of consumer that they had come through the doors. That's why they had you paying an annual fee, which it was nominal. But for most people, when you hear you got to pay an annual fee, if you don't understand how that system works and what it's in place for, then most likely you're not going to sign up for it. So they did their damage there and their work there. And then as it became a greater entity to us, I mean, across the country, they started to filter out through how they bring in companies through there. Anyway, it's a whole different model, man. But I get it. Costco is one of our favorite. We're executive members, have been for. We just had I think I just had my 30-year. It was Price Club. Remember back in the days.
Yeah. Oh, see, I didn't even. You saying that's so funny. You say that.
Remember Price Club?
I don't. I remember it, but
Oh, but
I
you were up
never.
north. You were up
No,
north.
no, no, no. I was down here. I remember the Price Club, but okay. So I remember this. I remember Zodi's, Allen Ed's, Circuit City, all of those things.
Because you were a music guy. You know
But,
any of that.
but that's so funny. Price Club was the first club.
Yeah, and so that model, right? That subscription model, we saw it early on. My uncle, we were buying that stuff. Obviously, we were buying bulk supplies, right? We've been with Smart and Final 40-something years. I mean, all that. So I started seeing then when my brother was working there, we would go down and we would see the discounts. My mom would see the discounts and the coupons, and I would have to do a lot of the running because my mom worked down at the local hospital right here, Huntington. After she left Cigna Health Plan. And so I would look through there, and man, I had drawers full of coupons. I would spend 2 to 4 hours after practice going through coupons to make sure that we met a certain quota of spending at the household, because that was kind of my job between my mom and I. So I was like destined to be in this, right? Like it was like I was looking at all the different things. Ralph's was one of another one. They would do those Wednesday discounts for school, medical, like first responders, they call it now. And my mom, I would go in there with my mom's badge, man, from Cigna Health Plan or Huntington Hospital, get that 25% off. My mom would reward me. My uncle would pay me, $10 back if he saved 20. I mean, so you're doing all these numbers and you're seeing what can happen in the retail space. Just like when you talked to me about what you saw early on, it's the same kind of concept with commercializing and the sponsorships that you saw with Busta Rhymes and Sprite and all that. It's paying attention to the details on how relationships evolve and how things can kind of transpire out of those relationships, right? You were looking at it early on. You talked to me about how you knew hip hop was going to be something down the road, right? By seeing Busta Rhymes striking $1 million deal early on, right? It was just no different than me seeing how Price Club memberships and me looking at coupons and seeing how retail is going to keep growing. And wait, you mean such and such has an opportunity to bring a product to it? So I started creating products, right? We had the molding mud, way back when I think I was 17, 16 years old. And we were selling my own molding mud out of the hair salon that we had. So wow. I just did a reformulation of that. Like when I finished college and I knew I had $2,500 to go to Jamie Bashi Laboratories, who I went to school with, said, hey man, don't you guys have a manufacturing company? Yeah, look, let's try to test this. I don't remember what ingredients were in here, but let's try to do something. Okay, you got it. So just, interest and passion is how you end up to a commitment to something where you can garnish something that can fast forward you to a pretty handsome future. Anyway, I went on a tangent with that, but
Oh no, man. It was you explained.
this is the first of many of our sit downs, my brother. I'm glad to be here on the platform with you and Brown, by the way.
Nah, that's tight. That's tight. So you coming from that background, first of all, being an athlete, you develop the passion, you develop discipline.
Discipline.
Why don't you think financial literacy is something that's advocated for and I would say the youth, but I think that it's even a bigger question than that. I think it's just not even about the youth. I think it's about people in general. Like, why isn't financial literacy advocated for the way that it should be?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of layers to that question. Great question. Let's go back on that, though, right? Because I believe that it has been there. In fact, as it pertains to our community, right?
Okay.
African American community, let's just stay there or start there. It's true. We didn't have the same access as our counterparts, right? And some of it was strategic, a lot of it was geographical, and geographically strategic could be added on to that. Listen, our starting line is much further behind their starting line, right? I've got boys that I'm still doing business with now who were trust fund kids, right? Their families were so wealthy, they did so much, they were so non-present in their lives, they had to pay $50,000 a year to send them off to boarding schools, and then they were rewarded every quarter, a stipend of $25,000 into their trust fund for good behavior, for academics. We don't know nothing about that, okay?
Nothing.
And so I know that. I understand the application process going into those boarding schools because I've been around those guys, and I've had the trusted relationship within them. That's another topic, to be able to get that source of information. But as it pertains to financial literacy, which it's available for us all, there's one color really that a group of people see, and that's green. People aren't so much worried about us being black or this, that, and the other as much as we think that they are. People, they just, I tell a lot of people sometimes, man, it's just that some people don't even have the time to think about us, right? The reality of it is there's a lot of it there, and sometimes people just ain't thinking about us like that. But there's all those at the top who've created the systemic things. So the blocking of the education of financial literacy, it's always been there. Their books have been there for hundreds and hundreds of years. The access to the capital has what's been the biggest stifle for us, right? Giving us the access to the capital has been a thing. We always have to prove and work a little bit harder to get the access to the capital. Is that unfair? Sure. But we still have the opportunity to have the access to the capital. Are you willing to play the game? No, we can go play sports. We can go practice. We can go do all these other things that we want to do, but we don't want to sit down, go through those coupons, go to the market for our family and have to do that math, right? Have to do that banking, have to build that ledger, right? How were you ledgering at 15, 16? We just weren't. It wasn't something that we were interested to do. When I went to Muir, the reason why my mom sent me and one of my best friends, Justin Watson, great guy. People probably watching, whoever it is, he grew up in Altadena, great guy, won a Super Bowl with the Rams. Justin and I were buddies hanging out. I said, man, I'm going to go to Muir. They've got a program. It's called the Finance Academy. I don't know if you remember. They introduced the Finance Academy and the Science Academy back in 92, 93. It was the first inception of it here in the city of Pasadena. And my mom found out because she was at one of the hometown meetings. I guess I don't know what they call them now, but she was talking about town hall meetings. She was at one of the town hall meetings with Dr. Hill, who was our pediatrician over at Cigna Health Plan. He said, come with me, because they were trying to take the parking lot away from them, which was down the street. I think it's called Healthcare Partners now. It's been closed for years, right? But that used to be Cigna, and they were fighting to keep their parking lot. And because they wanted to put meters in there, they ended up winning that battle. But I got drug out to these meetings, right? And my mom would come back and she'd be arguing and talking about it on the phone with everybody. And my uncle would come over because we had our hair salon and they were trying to do the same thing in the back parking lot where the Planetary Society is. It used to be Citizen Bank. Remember Citizen Bank when J.C. Penney's was at the mall? Now they got $2 million condos over there, man. I got a buddy who lives up there. I said, damn, I used to break dance in front of this place on cardboard. So it can go on and on. But my point is the access to the information has been there. The access to the capital has not. And so what happens is when you know and when you feel like you can't get the money, you don't want to learn about it.
Mm.
That's what happens. So we feel, and we've been, if you've been told you can't get that kind of money, then what are you going to read about it? You just put it away. You try to find something else to do, right? What's the better way? What's the easier way? Oh, play some sports, music, musician, right? All that. But they don't want to see us in a suit and tie, baby. Oh, they don't want to do. You don't want to deal with this. And so there's a lot of that stuff that's tied to it. But I would say that the financial literacy component in our community has been there. What hasn't been there is the push for us to understand it and the encouragement, the passion behind it to set us up. And then on the receiving end, the actual patience that is required, the due diligence, the deep diving you talked about earlier, to put yourself in a position to go ahead and use your aptitude. So there's an aptitudinal aspect of receiving this information and the application side of it to put it to work out there. And putting it to work is the most uncomfortable spot because now you got to stand before people who know more than you. Now you got to go and stand in front of people who know more than you to ask those uncomfortable questions that you may be afraid to ask because you think they're going to think you stupid. Man, be stupid. Okay, I ain't never felt dumb in no room full of people who are scholars and have more than me ever. I've always felt like, hey, I'm grateful to be here. Help me understand what you know. Right? And so just building the character and the responsibility in terms of your personality to go forward and be confident, to not be worried about what other people are thinking and this is just a different type of spin on education that I'm trying to give you because it's a hard question to answer. Because there's so much that's tied to it, and it's a willingness to learn. The real thing is a willingness to learn about the money because I had the same opportunities that people I went to school with, and you just, so I don't know if I answered that, but
man, church.
The information's been there, Greg. The encouragement to source it has not. The access has always been denied and it's been dangled over our heads. That is very true. But I think that there's a responsibility within us all to be more resourceful in terms of learning things that are uncomfortable, particularly when it comes to money, because money is very uncomfortable. And it's always going to be, by the way. Always will be. But you got to learn how to be. That's that whole concept, right? Learning how to be uncomfortable. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? We've heard that our whole lives. It's a true thing. These are just not metaphors. They're actually realities that we live in.
Interesting. So, some of what you said reminds me of a conversation that I had with Brown years ago. Jay-Z came out with an album 444.
Yeah,
and it didn't connect with a lot of people because with that album, he was rapping about things that the average person could not connect to. Like how does a painting that's worth millions of dollars connect with me? Someone that just wants to listen to some dope hip hop. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like how does that resonate with me? Now, I was able to appreciate it, but there were certain consumers that
it's over their head, or it's just like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, it didn't connect. Like it like in any kind of a way, it didn't connect. And something that I kind of battled with within myself was, well, was he right or wrong? I think it's perspective.
Yeah.
I think that where he is, it's right.
Sure.
But where it's right from the vantage point of where he is.
Sure.
from the person who's eating McDonald's every day, Taco Bell, getting those coupons. You talking about coupons, getting those
Hey, man.
meal deal coupons or
Hey, man.
whatever.
All day.
It's like talking astrophysics to a wino.
Yeah.
Is something that's just like far beyond. So, in what you do, how do you feel AI is creating a place in the space of what you do? And
Great
is
question.
there is there competition between what you do and AI?
There's always competition, whether it be before it was AI, it was another brokerage, whoever. So, but AI does certainly raise the level playing field, and it makes it a lot more challenging because now everything being so accessible to us all, right? These applications that we can download now and pay for, if you can afford that on a regular basis, to be able to source information at a lightning speed is incredible, right? And it does present a challenge. But I just left a meeting earlier today, and we were focused on AI within real estate. I just got my real estate license, and I've been working with this broker for a long time. But now we're doing real business. But to speak on the AI in my industry, AI will introduce clients to better concepts and ideas. But where we're safe is the relationship aspect that will never go away from those buyers who need to be in the stores, 7 days a week, 2, 3 hours a time, managing the different category managers. Those robots and AI can't go through those things. Now, they will come to a point where the scanning process on the back end is going to be a lot easier, and we'll just have laborers, people come out, taking those U-boats from out of the back, from the stocking areas and placing, but facing the fronts. So whenever you go into a supermarket and you go down a grocery store aisle, they're broken down by categories. Okay. And then every so often there's a middle section refrigerator system that has and supports the same thing that may be outside of the deli section, which could be beverages, right? They'll put some inside. Whenever they place beverages on an in the center store aisles, it's because they're paying a higher slotting fee. So everybody that's in there, right? And you go, I don't care what market you go to, the company, the manufacturer, the brand is paying a fee for that brand to be on that shelf. Just like you got those books in the back, right? Let's say if those were all products individually owned by different companies and people manufactured, they have to pay for you, for Greg, to put that. This is the store. Greg, see? All right, Greg, man, I see my book over there. What's that white thing you got on top of my book? And why is that there? I'm paying you, $2,500 a month to have my product up there. And those 4 SKUs, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's like 6 books up there. So call them 6 SKUs. Each one of those books are priced at a certain, amount, right? And then we're going to scan that and we can sell that and then, next week I want to take that book on the top and I want to put it in this specialized end cap. And I want you to put it by the register because I think that this one can sell more because we're going to put 10,000 marketing dollars right now in the AI and put it on Instagram and all the major platforms. So we want to highlight that top book. Okay, Greg? Okay, I got it. Right. So you pull that book and now we got these beautiful end caps. And whenever you check out, you see my book right there. Man, Derek's book is right here. Well, I just paid a bunch of money for that book to be at that register. Right.
So,
So AI, there's a lot of the stuff that AI won't be able to do and replace from my particular vantage point. That's why I wanted to get into a position as a professional to where I wouldn't necessarily become obsolete, right? So obsolescence, that's what we have to look for when we're trying to do something. It's just like music, right? Music has some of the same sort of things, right? Like now the streaming, right? I think some of the money's kind of dwindled down because, some of these services you can pay. I don't know. I'm just saying, you can pay less money. I don't have to go out and buy your double CD. I can just stream it because I'm paying Spotify, whatever I'm paying every month. I'm paying a subscription. I want to go out and buy that for unless I actually love you and I'm going to go, that extra mile and do all this extra stuff for you. But most people now don't want to do anything extra. They want to do it all right here, right? They want to chat GBT, AI, however they can get it faster to them, it's doing. So in my business, I think it's still some time to come, but everything is being worked on. Chinese are working on everything on trying to eliminate the human body. Remove us out of every space that we possibly can. And we're buying it from them, by the way, because they're selling it for a nice number, and we've got the money, and we're going to do it, and we're going to say, you heard Donald today. He says, I don't care about Americans financial problems. He said it. Our president said it today. I don't know if you saw that.
Not yet.
He said today on public, you turn on any news channel right now, I am not concerned about Americans' financial issues right now. He's gotten frustrated. He's finally spoken the truth. Everybody can stop all the questioning, all the back and forth. You either align with a guy who don't give a fuck about you, or you're not. Like he said it today, it's clear as day. Greg, you can get off here and take any news channel. I do not care about the American people's financial situations. So if people don't wake up right now, right? Like, if today don't wake you up, turn your mind different tomorrow, man, I can't help you. You know, I can't make you see or unsee what was been said. Like, so it's just a matter of, man, like, and this is kind of off topic, but when you mention AI, our government is subscribed to this. Okay. Our president utilizes this stuff every day. Okay. He actually started a war with the ideas from AI and mass produced imageries for us that was artificial. Like, that's the space we're living in. So yeah, we're all going to get at some point manipulated by it, replaced, or workloads lessened. But in terms of AI and financial literacy, that is where we can really win. There's ways to tie in this financial literacy thing. And I love that you brought that up, by the way, because that's a really heartstring for me. And we can continue doing these podcasts and maybe do one off. Maybe I'll talk, me, you, and Brown to go to lunch and talk about that. But anyway, you got your audience. Hope that kind of answered. I don't believe I will be replaced. I have a very niche position. I use AI for research and fast ways to bring information to myself and my team so that we can be aligned and prepared for what's coming for the major grocery stores, because we're kind of working with their system. So as their system requires from us is how we prepare for them. And if it comes to that point where they need that, I think that, that's where tenure comes in, right? I've been doing this with them for, 15, 16 years. If a computer came in and they said that, I think I would get offered a pretty nice position somewhere else to kind of manage it. You got to stay abreast to it. Like, I've been chat GPTing for like 8 years and people weren't even talking. I was talking about chat GPT 8 years ago when they were developing it, robbing them. And they were like, what? I said, yeah, it's coming. We're going to be talking to our computers, building a database of our own so that we can communicate with it. Like, I can talk to chat GPT. In fact, I do every morning for about 30 minutes. Right. And then I go back and I clean up my notes. And I've got other applications that I use as well. I was using Claude. I subscribe to all that stuff. And because all we're doing is feeding the database, all of us, doesn't matter. So you can't run from it because it's becoming a master brain. And that master brain has all the knowledge that you have and that you don't have. And so why not utilize that tool, right, to help you become smarter or more aware of certain things that you otherwise would not be. So, it's no different. You probably, however much time you spend listening to the radio is about how much time I spend on a computer, right? This thing and trying to work whatever I need to work and figure out, the things that I need to kind of better position myself and my family and future generations.
What's the best advice anybody's ever given you?
Keep it simple, keep it concise, keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate things. Like, in terms of process, like, if you're going to build a company, keep it very simple. Keep it concise, like direct to the point. Don't make it murky, right? Keep it clean. And, no matter what the competitors are doing, simplicity will always win, because people don't want to continue to jog their brain. People can get heady with you, right? People want to get over intellectualized about what they're doing all the time, right? Because it's a chess match. I'm smarter than you. Keep it concise, keep it simple. It's the best advice I ever got. Because it's worked. It's prevailed. It's the simplicity of doing business has been that's how I've been able to do it, Greg, all these years. Not overcomplicating things. And then when people want to get all overly intellectualized about a conversation and test my know-how, I got it, right? Okay, let's go there. But for me and my consumers, my friends, and my communication, I'm going to keep it concise. I'm going to keep it simple.
This is my most selfish podcast because I have gotten, like, I can say that I gravitate to so much of this conversation. And, I appreciate that. If you had a biopic, what would be the title?
If I had a biopic?
A biopic.
A biopic.
Uh-huh.
Something about Norm.
All right. Who would play you?
I need Will to play me.
Great. Hey, I appreciate that, man. You
I need
are
I need Will to play me, man, because Will can deliver the message.
you're not scared.
No, no, Will can deliver the message. He can, a lot of us have complex personalities, right? We can get into these snapshots of meetings, which I appreciate, by the way. Thank you for you guys' time tonight. Um, but it's the to understand the complexities of a person's experience is highly intellectual. That skill set is beyond me, man. When I watch stuff on film, I love movies. I just went and watched the Michael Jackson film. Did you see it yet?
No.
It's a phenomenal film. They did a great job. And people were complaining about them not pointing out all the bad stuff. It's like, come on, we're here to celebrate people too. Like we're such in a culture where everybody wants to find a bad thing about you, right? And then because it's news now. It's the way that the media works. We want to tear people down. It's the way that we build ourselves up. So talk about selfish, right? That's how selfish most people are now in the space of media. Like, how can I find a topic? They don't care who they're hurting, what they're doing to those people, but it's very, very unfortunate. But that's a great film to go check out and support. But yeah, man, I would have Will play me, and it would be something about Norm. I write that's so something about Norm. Just a little personal note. Fun fact is my journal title. So I've been journaling 26 years now. So I've got probably, if I went to a ghostwriter, editor, we could probably chop down. I think I got 1,200 pages down to maybe a nice, decent, bio, about maybe 300 to 500 pages. If we could really clip it right, it's just some of it's so personal. It starts to just get to a point where you're just storing it. But at some point, I have to translate that into something, right? For my grandkids and my grandkids' kids. I already have a grandson, right? I started early. So at some point, I've got to take that over. And I've been working with this ghostwriter, but, trusting someone all the way with all your precious information is tough, man. I'm trying to get over that. So that's why we have our sessions every month for like an hour. You know what I mean? And I get little excerpts of all those pages, and then we're trying to put something together.
Nah, man, I really appreciate you allowing me to come into your place and space. Um, Incredible conversation. I've learned a lot. I appreciate you. Um, if someone wants to, with your real estate, do you do with commercial real estate? Do you do residential real estate?
So I just got the license, residential. I'm still the connector, right? I've still been
Okay.
doing that. I mainly got it because, kickbacks aren't really legal. So, and a lot of it, not that I would receive them monetarily. A lot of it was just, relational, right? Like, hey,
Mhm.
you need this, D, you need that kind of thing. I leave the money on the table. I try to always work with integrity and ethics and stuff like that. But, some of the deals that I can source are of high value. And I started realizing that I can make some better money. I mean, I've been making good money as a broker and some of the great relationships that we have. But if you have an opportunity to create your own in this way, I'll eventually get my commercial. I just wanted to get this because a good friend owns quite a bit. He has quite an extensive real estate portfolio, and he's like, "Look, I want you to start dealing with this," which
Okay.
is going to be a game changer. So that's kind of why we went that route. But I would go commercial because the same person owns a lot of commercial stuff. So just kind of guided through this relationship and just trying to prepare for the new shift that's about to come, man. I mean, the disparity between, we're losing ground here as African American people in Pasadena. I played golf with some people yesterday, and I know we got to go, Greg. And the whole conversation was about them, how they're fast tracking their business relationships with Chinese and all the other Asian Americans that are come here. They're like 60-70% down here where we live. We live down here in Old Town. I've always kind of lived down here in Old Town. I grew up down here, right? So I bought a place down here and on my second marriage. But it's kind of scary to see, our color disappearing in the community. It's been far gone down here. Okay. Most of my neighbors are Chinese, Korean and Anglo, and they have been. But with Altadena burning down, we've got to do a better job with and communicating with our youth and trying to help build them up. Real estate is the fast track to freedom. We've got to get people to own. We need to emphasize ownership. We need to emphasize financial literacy. I love that you brought that up. It's huge. We've got a lot of resources now, resources that we haven't had, but they're becoming more stricter. And by the way, those opportunities are going to dry up. So we've got to teach people how to go out and grab them now, and so that we can become more profitable and start owning more real estate, because it's too expensive out here, man. We're paying $7 a gallon for gas. We're never going to completely go back to that 30-40% drop off. It's going to be tough even when the war ends. So there's just a lot of information that we got to give people, but they've got to want to have it. You can't give up. It's never too late. It's true. You can still get back on it. I mean, we're still young. We can live to 100 now. I mean, everything is God's plan, but we can certainly do the necessary work in conjunction with his blessings to continue to live a fruitful life. And that's the stuff that we need to hear back in our community. I think if we talk more about that and start encouraging people that they can continue to live, and they can regroup, and they can get property again. They can clean up these credit scores. It's going to be hard, but you got to do it. You got to do it now, because if you don't, you're going to lose an opportunity out here in this free enterprise, man. And that's nothing but living with a combustible negative energy inside of you that's waiting to explode.
Oh man, this was great.
You feel me? We got to get people out of that position. We've dealt with that too long.
I'll share one thing with you before I close out. So I'm involved in some civic stuff. I'm on a committee for the Harbor City Jazz Festival. I'm also on the committee for this Juneteenth festival, first annual Juneteenth festival we have. Good. And with that, some of the funding that we got and whatnot came from the city of Los Angeles and whatnot. And so to get that, we had to go and speak before the council at these meetings and whatnot. And one thing that I learned is that for everyone who complains online about the city condition, every single thing, they should not be allowed to utter one word until they go and sit in a city council meeting.
You got it.
Because you have to be present. And to just give you like a short picture of it, me going to my first city council meeting.
Love that.
I was able to, so I had an issue where I live with some parking stuff and whatever.
I know.
I went to the deputy of the council person, which she's on the committee that I'm on for the jazz festival. And I said, hey, Desi, I got, these issues going on, da, 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 da. After the meeting was over, she introduced me to the police captain that is over patrolling my neighborhood. In 5 minutes, I was in a chain text message.
I'm telling you.
With everybody that could make something happen. Literally.
Greg, you know it. This is my whole point when I was telling my mom was going to these town hall meetings with Dr. Hill when I was a kid. I was in junior high school going to these things, listening to people debate about, the redding of curbs, right? Yep. The smalling of streets. I'm listening to, non-conversionable storefronts. I mean, I'm like, and then I'm asking questions. And then so when you get older, you become a bit, I've owned some commercial property here in town, sold it and all this. But showing up is the way that you get the information. It's been there from the beginning of the time, but we just, God bless us all. Some of us, we get, it's in here. We get so encapsulated on, we can't do this. I don't have the time for this. Yes, you do.
Yeah, man. And the thing
about once you do it, we didn't want to go. I didn't want to go. My mom didn't want to go. She was tired. Yep. Those things would go from 7 to midnight sometimes, if she would allow it. Right? They will argue it because you got to go through the docket.
Yeah.
So they got a meeting adjourned, right? Recess it to the next day. But you learn, and then you learn how to expedite and problem solve, do conflict resolution all at the same time, and satisfy your needs, and then help the others in your community. That's the way you do it.
Yeah,
That's how you fight the good fight.
man. And the thing
So
and the thing that I learned was that the fire captain, the police chief, all these people, they want to talk to you,
yeah,
but they don't want to talk to you on the street while they're in the middle of trying to do their job and protect
exactly,
whatever. It's the
exactly.
right time and the right place. And one last quick one before I close. I had a buddy who this was 3 weeks ago. He'd had his house broken into, and his brother was a SWAT member, retired, and
Mm-hmm.
but from his brother's point of view, he was on Facebook and he said, "Our city's gone to trash. It's the governor's fault," and just on and on and on and
Yep.
on and on. He said, so they had a picture through Ring camera of the guy who broke into his brother's house and stole some earrings and da da da.
Yeah.
Da. So this was about like noon that he was going on his Facebook rant. When I went to that meeting at 5 o'clock, the police chief, he brought it up and said, and just to let everybody know, if you look at Ring or if you look at Citizen, we did apprehend the person and we got the da 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 da. And so the next day, I didn't text message the brother who used to be SWAT because he's just far gone.
Right.
You got to be way out to do that anyway.
Right.
But I hit the brother who got his stuff taken, and he was like, "Greg, I was just angry. I was venting on Facebook." But he said, it was amazing how the LAPD was because I live on the border of the county and the city. So he's
Okay.
like, "Greg, it was amazing how LAPD was communicating with the sheriff and da da da." And I said, "Man, I'm not trying to say everybody's perfect. I'm definitely not trying to stand up for anybody. But I say, if you want to be involved, you got to be present and just don't be so quick to bash without
Exactly.
being part of the solution." But anyway, that's my rant. That's
I
my
love it.
civic.
I love it, man. Hey, thank you for the time. I mean, this was great. I hope I was able to, this is actually the first podcast that I've done, but I'm really thankful for you guys, and I'm excited about where Sparside TV can go. I'm certainly more than happy to try to introduce this, like I've talked to Brown, to some of my friends and constituents about sponsorships. I think the show's great. I think it's educating. If we could, the financial part is another thing I'll talk to you and Brown about, and seeing if we can get some sponsorships on that end from like brothers like John Hope Bryant and Robert Smith. But obviously we need to add that component. I know it's more of a radio station, but I think this is cool, Greg. You're an intelligent brother. You got a lot of good stuff. If there's a way that we can have some more information, stuff like this happen, they can be shorter segments, 15.
Oh, for
That
sure.
we can figure out a way to do that, and I can bring in some guests and some people to talk about stuff. Like, I think this is awesome, man. You brothers are killing it. I love it.
Well, no, man. Once again, thank you very much for everything. I learned so much, and thank you for jogging my memory. The Price Club, man. And it's so I forgot what it was,
Yeah,
but I see what it is.
yeah, man. It's real. It's real. So, all right. Well, let me know, man. I'm here.
Yep. So this has been another episode of Far Side TV with Splendid Radio. Thank you.